Sandy Munro is going to be here because we recently found out that Sandy has been working with Aptera on their really unique electric vehicle, which can go up to 1,000 miles on one charge, or you may never even have to charge it at all if you drive less than 40 miles a day, because it can get that many miles from the sun with the solar panels that are built into its body. It also suggested that Aptera may be the very first EV company to use Tesla's charging plug and therefore the charging network. So I thought it would be a perfect topic for Sandy to tell us all about Aptera in particular and the three-wheeled electric vehicles in general, and we're going to do it right now. Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of electric car scoop. If you are interested in everything that's going on in the world of electric cars, and also Sandy is here at least once a month, so those are good reasons to click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, Sandy is ready to go. Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by NeoCharge. Itching to buy another electric car but don't want to deal with paying an electrician to rewire your home for that second charger? Well, check out the dual car smart splitter from NeoCharge. Charge both cars with one outlet and never drop a penny on an electrician. Get one today and use the discount code in the description of this video. And by XPeng Motors, China's leading smart EV automaker that just announced its expansion plan for Europe, and first deliveries have already started. For more information, visit XPeng Motors on Facebook using the link in the description of this video. All right, Sandy, this is our last conversation this year, which I'm sure neither one of us are going to miss that much. But, you know, there's a lot of interesting things have happened, and I'm looking forward to the next year. And I think, obviously, especially in the last week, we got to know the new Aptera, a three-wheel vehicle that kind of got relaunched. They have a long history, and a lot of people got really interested, to my surprise, and we now know that you guys are working with them on helping them with manufacturing. So let's start with just letting me know, because I'm fascinated by this. Who is this vehicle for? I mean, this is a three-wheel car that can be actually driven on the roads. Who is the target audience?
Well, I'll tell you what, so far it looks like anybody between 18 and 75, because I have had responses from different people, and when the thing came out, because some Aptera had talked to a bunch of folks, and I started, oh, I'm glad to hear you're working with Aptera. Oh, this clinches the deal for me, and on and on and on. And I had one guy saying, I know you're old. I'm sorry, I'm 18 and I know you're old, so it's too bad you can't enjoy this, blah, blah, blah. Right, Chumley. I still drive. People don't like getting in the car with me because I have a lead foot. So at the end of the day, that was one end of the spectrum. And the other end of the spectrum was a guy and his wife. He's 75, she's 72 or something like that. And they're buying one, and they want it because they think that it's got longer range, and he likes to go off-road every once in a while. So I think this is somebody, again, this is for people who are kind of interested in having fun. They want to get back to something other than, you know, other than a minivan or the old sedan or a pickup truck or something. They want to have a little bit of everything, and that's what I think that Aptera, Arcimoto, we've got other vehicles that start with A, but I mean, and then Nobe is the same thing. I mean, all of them. The one for Nobe is really cool. They take it on. They get onto basically a frozen pond and racing around and off-roading and stuff. All these vehicles are made for a little more fun than what you'd care to take your very expensive Tesla or Porsche or what have you EV onto onto the back roads, as it were. And it's cheap in comparison, half the price, in some cases a third of the price of what's coming into the marketplace coming up.
Yeah, it is. And so let's dive into that because there are some challenges, but also some advantages to manufacturing a vehicle like this. Can you tell us a little bit what the challenges are, but also what the advantages are in terms of having this vehicle that's obviously smaller. It's a three-wheel. I'm sure there's so many different configurations that you have to kind of change from the mentality of creating an electric vehicle. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you the one giant advantage that anybody who's a startup has over the big guys, and that is they have no legacy costs. None. There's no old people that they're paying for pensions. There's no folks that have been harmed on the job or anything. They don't have, as a rule, a really old crowd, so their health care is cheap in comparison. So there's a lot of advantages in starting out something like this, and making a good connection. And then you don't have things like, for instance, we're not going to need a whole lot of engine plants, right? There's going to be a lot of engine plants and transmission plants that are going to close down because it's a gearbox in an EV, right? We're only looking at one or two gears. That's it. As far as power out. So I don't need a transmission plant. And then there's a lot of other sub-supplied things that come from the tiers community that you're not going to use. So there's a lot of big advantages for the guys that are starting up. The disadvantages are normally money. That's what everybody is trying to get their hands on. They need to get they need to get investors. So this is the same thing as Elon Musk. He needed investors. So you invest at an early stage in something that looks like it has legs, and you're going to win big. So I think the same thing is going to be true for the three-wheel vehicles. And I mean, we are working on four-wheel EVs as well, but we can't. Those are for bigger companies, and we can't talk about them. But for the three-wheeled guys, they don't have a whole bunch of lawyers and whatnot standing in the way of progress. So we're doing a lot with the three-wheeled community. So we have five.
And since you mentioned that,
now.
obviously there's less parts and stuff to worry about, especially compared to what legacy manufacturers have, is it that much easier and obviously cheaper to build a factory? I don't even know if they're going to be building their own factory or maybe outsource it to a third party. But if they were to build a factory, is it going to be a $50 to $100 million factory that's easy and fast to build and start operations relatively quickly?
Well, starting up a factory is not a $50 to $100 million. You're looking at $400 million. And then if you want to have paint on it, then it gets worse. So if you want to go at 150 jobs, 150,000 jobs a year. So those kinds of things cost big bucks, but they're going to be ramping up, and I'm sure that as they go, they'll move into bigger and bigger locations. And that's what we recommend when we're working with these types of startup companies. We'll buy a machine that in the future it'll be able to accommodate higher volumes later on, but it's good for right now. So you don't want to have things where you're looking at stick-built kind of cars. That gets too expensive. It's okay for the first three or four hundred or something like that, but then after that, then it gets to be pretty damned expensive, and you got to make profit, and you got to make your shareholders happy, and you have to make people happy. You have to make sure that you're building something that they're going to like at a price that they're going to want to pay for, with the quality that they're going to be appreciative of. So there's a lot of things to take into account, but I don't see any problem with their migration up, especially as really and truly for the three-wheel kind of vehicles. I can use a warehouse. I don't need fancy super deluxe building, I can use a warehouse. I can reconfigure that type of an operation, and away we go. It should be a piece of cake.
Now, some of the concerns that I've heard about, not just Aptera in particular, but in generally, is that the safety, right? How safe these vehicles are, what are they made out of, and what are the safety precautions that you would have in a three-wheeled vehicle like this?
Okay, so three-wheel vehicles are a little different than a car. The NVSS kind of kind of rules and regulations don't really apply to an auto cycle, or they have the same rules as a motorcycle. In some states you have to wear a helmet and things like that. But with us, what we're trying to do is make them a little bit safer than basically the no regulation that they've got right now. So we're putting in seat belts, and we're putting in hopefully an airbag kind of system. Not exactly like what blows out of your steering wheel and whatnot, but an airbag kind of system. We're making crush zones. We're designing crush zones into the products so that they collapse and they give you a chance to survive and whatnot. So all these things, we're looking at them at the design phase right now, and that's kind of what's happening with pretty much all the guys that we're working with. We want to make sure that they don't get a legacy, or they don't get a title affixed to them as being unsafe. And the other thing that we're working on is I want to try and make it so we can put anti-roll control in, and that would mean that we use some of the stuff that we've designed for missiles. You put a chip that's a gyroscope onto the board, and that would tell you, stiffen this or loosen that, so that the vehicle doesn't flip over on you. That's the big thing.
And so, what is it going to be made out of as far as the shell? Are we talking about any type of aluminum, steel? What?
Yeah, it depends on the styling. Sometimes the styling would lend itself to stamped aluminum. Not too many people are interested in going into stamped steel. It's expensive and heavy. Well, it's not. It's expensive for the tools, and it's heavy. Then you've also got a variety of different plastics and composites that everybody's looking at. Most everybody's looking at a frame that's made out of aluminum, and a suspension system that would be a multi-link type of suspension. So all of them are kind of looking at that same sort of what we would classify as an off-road kind of suspension.
Now, one of the things that have kind of raised eyebrows, and I think guys at Inside EVs have noticed first, is that in their promotional launch video, Aptera actually showed a charging plug, and it was exactly the same as Tesla charging plug in the configuration. Yeah. And obviously, they're not confirming anything. I'm assuming it would be Tesla that would be making that announcement if it's really true. But if we were just, for a second pretend that it might be, and not just about Aptera, how easy or hard would it be to implement a Tesla charging system into a different type of a vehicle like Aptera?
Technically, it's a piece of cake. It's the IP that'll, the intellectual property, the who owns what, that's the part that things get sticky when you start looking at that. So I am not really 100% sure which direction they're going to take as far as charging ports, but maybe they got a relationship with Elon Musk. I would love to have one system. That would be great. If we could have one charging system. We've looked at the port and the charging system for Tesla. Looks as good as anybody else's. I think that we don't want to get into a situation where it's like if you go to England, you got a socket that's this big with 3 prongs on it. It's heavy as anything, and then it doesn't work in France or Germany or anywhere else for that matter. And then you go to Europe, and then they have a bunch of different plugs. Then you go to Japan or China or whoever. Everywhere you go, it's a different. That's stupid. Hopefully, what we'll have is somebody will come to their senses. Hopefully, the Society of Automotive Engineers, and dictate and say, this is what we're going to use, nothing else. They should have done it a long time ago, but whatever.
What?
It's
Great Britain trying to do something different from Europe? I've never heard of that, Sandy. Come on now.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah. Something about, what is that thing, the Euro something or other? I can't remember. It's like a big family over there.
Yes. But no, I hear what you're saying. But, when it comes to charging, I mean, it's not just about getting a Tesla plug and even an onboard charger. I mean, this has to be implemented with a battery, because I'm assuming then you could possibly, supercharge, and that requires all kinds of whole new level for the battery, right? So what would need to be implemented, if anything, that different with Aptera or any other party that would implement something like this?
Well, the battery the battery management module and the charging module would have to be purchased from Tesla. The battery doesn't care where the juice is coming from, or in some cases how it's coming, but management of how you bring the power to the batteries, or the cells, not really the batteries, but the battery pack's a big thing. It's the little cells that want to see it come the way that it's expecting to see it. And that's all. That should not be a big deal. Like I say, the technology is not. That's not rocket science, and I think that that using a Tesla charge port shouldn't be a big deal. But you're going to have to buy some of the componentry off of Tesla in order to make sure that it actually works. So
that would be cool to see those little things at the Tesla superchargers. But okay, but a lot of people also were wondering, because it looks like Aptera is claiming 10 miles per kilowatt hour, which sounds like insane, right? Like that's more than double of the most efficient one, which is Tesla. What's the trick there? How do you get to 10 miles per kilowatt hour with a three-wheeler like that?
So now we're getting real close to what I sign NDAs for. So let's do this. How much does a Tesla weigh, and how much does Aptera weigh? What's the rolling friction coefficient for a Tesla, and how about if I get rid of one corner and I only got 3 wheels instead of 4 wheels? And then how rugged do I have to make it for the government to say, okay, you get a 5-star crash rating, versus the guy who is he doesn't have all those regulations. So there's a lot of things that are happening. I don't have a roof in a lot of cases, right? So there's a lot of reasons why you can see a difference as far as the amount of driving you can do and whatnot, and how fast you can get from here to there, because of the weight is gone, the friction's down, and there's not as many regulations on a 3-wheel vehicle.
All right, interesting. And I don't want to get you in trouble, so we'll move on. But let's stay with charging, because Aptera has another way of charging. As a matter of fact, the big story was that you may never have to charge that car, because it has the built-in solar panels on there. And that technology has been tried before by Toyota and Fisker, and there's Lightyear one and a few other ones. But these guys are claiming, I believe it's like up to 43 miles per day, which is, can satisfy most of the people's driving. Is the technology really there now, and how fast do you think it will improve where this can be used in other cars?
I think having solar panels on a car is a good idea, but it depends a lot on the styling of the vehicle, and basically what's the use that the vehicle is going to have. So when you start looking at Aptera or any of the other 3-wheel vehicles, you're looking at a very light product, and for the most part, if you want it drafty, you can usually pull the doors off and things like that. So I think that again, the 3-wheel vehicle all of them, it doesn't matter which one you point at, all of them have advantages that anything with four wheels they can't accomplish. And when it comes to Fisker and a couple of the other guys that have gone bust like 5 or 6 times, you know, I think I'd rather just stick with somebody who's got a good idea, not interested in trying to sell to the big boys or compete with Tesla or something like that. The big thing for me when Elon said he didn't want to get into the three-wheel business, initially I was sad because I was hoping I could get a chance to use some of his electric motors and inverter converters and ADAS systems. Okay, but at the other end of the spectrum, I mean, he told me I'm not getting in that market, even though, I don't know if you want to check this out, but Tesla came up with a three-wheel car. Did you know that?
No, wait a second. Do tell, Sandy.
Buried. It's very difficult to get a chance to see the little video, but if you search really hard, yeah, they did one. So, and I looked at the video, but it's hard. It's hard to find it, and refinding is even harder. They've got a lot of slick guys when it comes to what do you call it? The internet.
What year are we talking about, and what happened to that?
I have no idea what year it was, but it was prior to the prior to the Model 3. Yeah.
And what happened to that? Did they just shut it down, or
I don't know.
knows?
I don't know. I still don't have Elon Musk's home phone number.
It's unbelievable that you don't, but okay. Because some people who do is also kind of quite surprised. Okay, all right. What you're saying is that it is now more and more, the technology is getting there where you can have a vehicle that will charge itself with enough miles to never need to be plugged in.
Absolutely. And Aptera is right there.
And so is the breakthrough in technology, was it all about the weight? Because the biggest problem was that the solar panels are so heavy that they add so much weight that whatever they bring in is not worth it.
Yeah, well, things have come a long way since the old days. Again, I don't want to get too deep into that, but suffice to say that when I was in China last year at about this time, well, earlier than this, just about a year and a bit ago. I was looking at solar panels that they were putting on I don't want to say the name, but anyway, another Chinese car company, and they were like whisper thin. They may have been about a millimeter at the most thick, and they were flexible. So there's stuff out there, and in actuality. During the downturn, we had a guy that showed us a paint, and he painted this piece of sheet metal, and we put it in the sun, and he got a charge, and I was totally blown away, but unfortunately. Things didn't work out real, that was when nobody was really interested in that particular type of technology. And he ran into a bunch of financial problems, and he got very depressed, and tragically he committed suicide. But and who knows where the paint went. I asked him for a can or two, but he didn't leave it behind, so.
Okay, now let me ask you kind of a out there question, because I'm a dreamer. Like, let's say that they do well, Aptera, and they start making these, and it's popular and they're profitable and all that stuff. But one day they said, you know what, we want to go ahead and add that fourth wheel and start making the full electric cars. How hard or easy would it be for them to actually convert themselves or come up with a four-wheeled full regular electric car? Or is it that hard that they're probably just going to have to stay in that niche?
It depends on how much money they want to lose. Because when you're in the three-wheel vehicle business and you start hitting stride at around 100,000 vehicles a year, you're going to be doing really remarkably well as far as profitability. As soon as you move into the 4 wheels and you start looking at all of the regulations that you've got to jump into, it starts getting quite a bit more expensive and time consuming, and your engineering effort is going to have to jump orders of magnitude. So it's an expensive proposition to go into what the big boys call the real cars, as opposed to motorcycles. So
don't forget to subscribe to Sandy's channel as well. I put the link to it in the description of this video because he's just about to tear down the brand new Model 3 and post updates on his channel. Of course, I will keep you updated on this channel as well. And if you're wondering what to watch next right now, how about the video that I made about all of the exciting electric car models that are coming in 2021? I put the link to that video in the description of this video as well. And if you're watching me on YouTube, it's right there in that corner. Looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.